Hi, my friends, it's Bradley J, and today we're going to go to Romania. That's a big adventure. I'm going to show you some images and tell you about it. Are you ready? Let's go. Flew to Bucharest and was nervous about rabid dogs. I'd read a lot about rabid dogs, and so maybe I was too nervous. Didn't stay in Bucharest at all. Got right on the train and headed out. I love trains. Romania is kind of dark and scary, and I like that. Let's look at dark and scary. A lot of dark wood. It feels like deep dark forests, and the meals have a lot of game in them, like pheasant or maybe wild boar. Lots of underground darkened restaurants. I love this. As a matter of fact, I prefer Eastern Europe to Western Europe. I'd rather go to Romania than France. I'd rather go to Romania than Germany. I'm not sure why it is. Part of it is that it's exotic to me. The other is that it's a great deal. If you can afford a mid-range hotel in Paris, well, you can certainly walk into many towns and cities in Romania and Eastern Europe and stay in the best hotel in town. After an evening of a nice dinner and a couple of bars, I was able to get some sleep and get up the next day on a crisp, bright morning and head to this funky coffee shop. Just so cool. One note on day one of travel. If you're coming from the States, chances are you'll leave in the evening and you'll get to your European destination in the morning. Sometimes late morning, sometimes early morning, but either way, you'll be tempted to take a nap in the afternoon. Don't do it. And this morning is refreshing indeed. Crisp, cool weather. Great for walking. Brasov has a population of about 250,000 people, and it's spotless. Another historical name for Brasov is Stephanopoulos, and Stephanos means crown and polis means city. I did not know that Stephanos meant crown. And later, from 1950 to 1960, during the communist period, it was called Stalin City, part of the Stalin region. Brasov is a delight, and it really is everything you'd expect when you visit a town in Transylvania. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's a good first stop after Bucharest because it's about 100 miles north of Bucharest, which is easily doable by train. Some great things to do in Brasov include hanging around in the square and drinking coffee. That's huge. You can visit the Black Church, take a tour of the Black Church. There's a cable car up a mountain called Tampa Mountain. You can visit the Black Tower and the White Tower. The Black Tower is not really black, but it's called that because it was hit by lightning. There's Catherine's Gate and the fortified medieval walls. That's the kind of stuff I love. Now it's time to head on to the next Romanian town, Sighisoara. I have my sandwich, my ticket, my beer. You might call travel in Romania dark travel, and here's why. Dark travel is travel to places that are not necessarily happy places in the smiley face sense of the word. Conflict cities such as Berlin and Jerusalem are such cities. Now there are other types of dark travel, not necessarily conflict. A lot of countries that used to be communist fall in the dark travel category. A lot of countries that were ruled by really evil dictators fall in the dark travel category. And Romania certainly is dark, not only historically, but visually. If you're not a smiley face person, you might very well love Sighisoara in Romania. There genuinely is a palpable feel, a feeling of vampires and bats and goth music and melancholy. As the sun went down, I began my search for lodging and food. But there was no one around. It seemed abandoned. I had to persevere. There must be some place to eat and some place to stay here. Just off-season, or is there another reason that it seemed completely abandoned? Finally, after a long time wandering the cobblestone streets, I managed to get a room, nicely appointed and a great deal. Still hungry, headed out, looking for a meal. Across the cobblestone courtyard, nothing, empty, just a dog howling off in the distance, his howls banging off the stone walls of the medieval buildings. I'm not kidding, it was eerie. After walking some time, I could hear what sounded like a party in the distance, or maybe a bar. And it turned out that there was some underground restaurant that was packed. What you're seeing now is obviously a graveyard. But this one had a special attraction. It had a tree on fire. You'll be able to see the tree on fire in a moment. And this caused a smoky pall over the whole graveyard. To get to the graveyard, you have to walk up. It seems like a million stone steps in this dark, covered walkway. It kind of looks like a covered bridge of stairs. And I was being followed by what appeared to be a black German shepherd. Appearances can be deceiving. Perhaps it wasn't your usual dog. There's the bus station in town. The whole bus thing seems so shady. I opted for the train, got some lunch here, and headed to the train station. Destination, Timisoara, the birthplace of the Romanian Revolution in 1989, which culminated in the show trial and execution of Nicolae Ceausescu, Romania's horrible, horrible dictator. The long, long train ride takes me through Sibiu, and that's my next stop. Stay there one night. The best thing about Sibiu was the pool inside the hotel. And here's the big beautiful square in Sibiu. There are a number of ways to pronounce the name of this city, so don't worry about getting it right. You might think of it as backwards, but you'd be wrong. As a matter of fact, the company Elrond, which created the e-gold cryptocurrency, which is one of the bigger ones, was founded by people from Sibiu. There are some yearly events here. The big one is the Sibiu International Theater Festival. And that's each spring at the end of May. There's a medieval festival in August. Sibiu is a Transylvanian town. They have a festival here called the Rockin' Transylvania Festival. And they have the oldest jazz festival in Romania here. If you want to kind of a view from higher up. You can climb a thing called the Council Tower, and you'll get a good view from that. That dates back to the late 1500s. If you like quirky museums, there's the Pharmacy Museum, which is located in a small square. It's just 2 rooms with a lot of pharmaceutical artifacts. But I'll be honest with you, it's really not about the attractions in Sibiu. It's about the vibe. You can feel the history. You can feel the melancholy. And it's wonderful to just walk the cobblestone streets. Stop into a pub, stop into a restaurant, a cafe. Take photos, lots of photos, and interact with people as much as you can. One way I go about that is to simply ask directions. I could look at my phone, but I don't want to. I ask directions, and who knows where that conversation might lead. And it's really rewarding to successfully communicate with locals in these towns. The next city is Timisoara, which is the home of the birthplace of the Romanian Revolution in 1989. I arrived in Timisoara without lodging, as is usual, but this time finding a place was very challenging, nearly desperate. Happily, I found this warm, inviting, old-school spot to stay. In the morning up to Victory Square, the birthplace of the Romanian Revolution. You see, the Hungarian minority was enraged by an attempt by the government, headed by horrible dictator Nicolae Ceausescu, to remove a certain pastor. And this was something they could not abide. The revolution started here. And it didn't just flicker and die, it grew, and it grew. And it culminated in a show trial and the execution, Ceausescu, of and his wife Elena. And you can still feel it. It wasn't that long ago. And what you see here and what you feel here has grown organically from that. Timisoara, Romania. Not for everyone, but very rewarding for some. Which is the case with Romania overall. Romania is so special, it saddens me that more people don't experience it. If you like this video, I make a lot of them. Subscribe, click on the bell to get notified of future posts, and travel lightly.